There's a moment that happens to many people at the end of a Disney vacation. You're standing in the airport, your kids are exhausted, your phone battery is dying, and you're staring at your credit card statement wondering how a trip that started as a simple idea, let's go to Disney for a few days, turned into something that cost thousands more than you expected. And the strange part is that it never really felt like you were being pushed to spend that money. No one pressured you, no one forced you, and no one even seemed to try that hard. Yet somehow you bought the Genie Plus passes, the Lightning Lane upgrades, the themed meals, the character photos, the exclusive souvenirs, the resort upgrades, the park hopper tickets, and maybe even that last-minute snack you didn't really need. If you've ever left a Disney park wondering how it all added up so quickly, you're not alone. Because behind the fireworks, castles, and smiling characters, there is something else quietly operating in the background, a system. That system has been developed by one of the most sophisticated entertainment companies in the world, the Walt Disney Company. And the deeper you look into how Disney vacations are designed, the more it begins to feel less like a simple holiday destination and more like a carefully engineered environment. Not a trap in the obvious sense, Disney doesn't force anyone to spend money. But they don't need to. Over decades, they've perfected something much more powerful, an environment where spending feels natural, inevitable, and even exciting. And once you start noticing how this system works, you begin to see its influence everywhere. The process begins long before anyone actually enters the park. Most vacations involve simple planning. You book flights, choose a hotel, maybe schedule a few activities. But planning a Disney trip has become an entire project. Families research attractions, reserve dining months in advance, study park maps, download apps, watch strategy videos, and build detailed itineraries. What sounds like convenience often turns into commitment. When someone spends weeks or even months planning a vacation, the trip begins to feel like something that must go perfectly. And when people feel that level of emotional investment, they become far more willing to spend money to protect the experience. If a ride line is too long, an upgrade might seem worth it. If a restaurant is fully booked, a more expensive option suddenly feels reasonable. Each decision seems small on its own, but together they create something psychologists call escalation of commitment. The more someone invests in an experience, the harder it becomes to step back. But the real engineering begins once visitors arrive. Disney parks don't feel like normal cities or amusement parks. They feel immersive, almost self-contained. This effect is intentional. Designers often refer to the experience as the Disney bubble, a world where the outside environment fades away. There are no visible office buildings, no distracting billboards, and very little that reminds visitors of ordinary life. Everything, from architecture to music, is designed to reinforce the fantasy. Music plays almost constantly. Smells are sometimes intentionally released near bakeries or food stalls. Buildings are carefully scaled and positioned so that the most magical landmarks remain visible from key points throughout the park. Even trash cans are placed at calculated distances because Disney once studied how far people typically walk before wanting to throw something away. These details may sound excessive, but they serve a powerful purpose. When people feel comfortable, entertained, and immersed in a story, they stop behaving like cautious consumers. Instead, they behave like guests in an experience. Guests explore more, stay longer, and make emotional decisions rather than purely financial ones. One of the most interesting examples of this design philosophy can be seen in the layout of the parks themselves. At first glance, the paths seem open and natural. But if you examine a park map, you'll notice that many routes eventually guide visitors through shopping areas. In places like Main Street inside the Magic Kingdom, guests walk through a charming row of stores when they enter the park and again when they leave. That timing is not accidental. People tend to spend more money when they feel happy, nostalgic, and satisfied, exactly the emotional state many visitors experience at the end of a magical day. In recent years, technology has added another layer to this system. Modern Disney parks rely heavily on digital tools that keep visitors constantly engaged. Mobile apps help people track ride times, make reservations, order food, and navigate the park. On the surface, these tools exist for convenience. But they also create continuous interaction with Disney's ecosystem. Your phone alerts you when a ride is available, when a show is starting, or when an upgrade might save time. Instead of simply walking through the park and making spontaneous decisions, visitors now interact with a system that quietly nudges them toward the next experience, and sometimes the next purchase. Even waiting in line has been reimagined. Traditional amusement parks treat lines as an unavoidable inconvenience, but Disney often turns them into storytelling environments. Queues are filled with decorations, interactive elements, and background narratives related to the attraction. The idea is simple: if waiting feels like part of the experience, people perceive the time differently. And when people tolerate waiting more easily, they stay in the park longer. And the longer guests remain inside the park, the more opportunities exist for them to spend money on food, merchandise, and special experiences. Food itself plays a surprisingly important role in Disney's business strategy. Instead of treating meals as a basic necessity, Disney transforms them into attractions. Restaurants are themed around stories and characters, snacks are designed to look unique or photogenic, and certain menu items become viral sensations online. Visitors sometimes travel across the park just to try a particular dessert or drink they saw on social media. Individually, these purchases may not seem expensive, but across millions of visitors they represent a significant source of revenue. Perhaps the most powerful psychological element behind Disney vacations, however, is nostalgia. For many people, Disney represents childhood memories, family traditions, and beloved stories that have existed for generations. Nostalgia has a profound effect on spending behavior. When people feel nostalgic, they are more likely to prioritize experiences and emotional moments rather than strict financial calculations. Disney actively cultivates this connection by keeping classic characters, music, and storytelling elements alive throughout the parks. The result is an environment where visitors feel emotionally connected to the experience in a way that goes far beyond a typical theme park. Another subtle technique lies in the way Disney structures its pricing. Instead of presenting one massive cost, expenses are divided into multiple smaller decisions spread across time. There are park tickets, hotel upgrades, ride reservations, special dining experiences, photo packages, and merchandise purchases. Each individual choice feels manageable, especially when made weeks or months apart during the planning stage. But when combined together, these smaller expenses can accumulate into a much larger total than visitors originally anticipated. To be clear, none of this means Disney is secretly deceiving people. Like any business, the company designs experiences that encourage spending. The difference is that Disney has refined this approach to an extraordinary degree. Through storytelling, architecture, psychology, and technology, the company has created an environment where entertainment and commerce blend together seamlessly. Visitors rarely feel like they are being marketed to, even though the entire environment is structured to guide behavior in subtle ways. And perhaps that is the most fascinating part of the Disney vacation system. Even when people realize how much they spent, many still feel the trip was worth it. Families return year after year, eager to experience the magic again. The environment is so carefully crafted that it transforms spending into part of the story itself. Instead of feeling like transactions, purchases become souvenirs of memories. So the next time you walk through the gates of a Disney park, past the music, the characters, and the iconic castle, it may be worth remembering that you are not just entering an amusement park. You are stepping into one of the most carefully engineered entertainment environments ever created, designed to keep you immersed, engaged, and emotionally connected from the moment you arrive until the moment you leave. And that's exactly the kind of hidden strategy we explore here. If you enjoy uncovering the deeper stories behind famous brands, systems, and industries, consider subscribing to the Uncovered Context if you're new here. Because sometimes the most interesting stories are not the ones companies openly advertise, they're the ones quietly shaping our experiences behind the scenes.